just because it's not a traditional asset, stock or bond, doesn't mean that some of the traditional portfolio analysis tools don't apply. And one of the words you used actually was correlations, which I find incredibly interesting because there are some people out there in the investment world who say, "Oh, you should buy this or that digital asset, often Bitcoin," where they say because it has no correlation with markets. And I'm like, I own a lot of Bitcoin. I don't really know about that." But Eric, maybe you can talk to us about what kind of correlations digital assets, not just Bitcoin, but digital assets in whole, have with traditional markets, and how should investors be either using or avoiding those type of correlations?
So I just looked at it yesterday because you made me look at it. Over the last year, Bitcoin has become more correlated with the NASDAQ 100 index equities. ETH has become less correlated with the NASDAQ 100. Both have become negatively correlated over the last year with gold. So those are the three kind of options that I looked at. It's just interesting to watch those patterns. So Bitcoin more correlated, ETH less correlated, and both less correlated to gold. So, it's just interesting just to kind of watch these trends.
When you think about that kind of correlation, would you be comfortable telling an investor, hey, this gives you some sort of diversification with respect to the correlations of the broader markets? Or you'd say, no, you're jumping in, you're swimming in the same pool?
I know ETFs really, really well. I know how the market structure works really, really well, but I don't give financial advice ever.
On that because we did a lot of research on the correlation among asset classes. There are two variables you have to consider. One is your time horizon,
Yeah.
right? In the short term, again, you're talking about daily movement of one asset versus the other. Does it really matter to you, right? Unless you're a quant fund, obviously, right? The second dimension is what frequency are you using to calculate the correlation? There is well-established research saying Bitcoin and gold, obviously, they are competing for the inflation hedge. In the short term, they are actually negative correlated, just as you observe, because certain people prefer gold over Bitcoin, but over longer term, again, they are positively correlated because they are both viewed as a potential inflation hedge.
Sure.
Yeah, Tony, can I just say something quickly? I'm taking it back to the global macro conversation. You historically look at the correlations between gold and the dollar, right? When you're talking about inflationary or deflationary cycles. And, those change with the economic seasons. When gold and the dollar are perfectly correlated, we're usually in a deflationary scenario. So when you extrapolate that and you think about the correlations of digital assets under various timeframes and various conditions, that's where we start to have a conversation with advisors about where to insert those things. And correct. I mean, basically Bitcoin and the NASDAQ 100, like NVIDIA Bitcoin. But then talking about it as a diversifier doesn't quite work out so well, but we look at it from that seasonal perspective.